Hello and welcome to David's World, and today we are going to talk about my EV. To find out what that is, if you don't know, then let's get started. Okay, so if you've seen project codename Electra, you will have an idea what an EV is. An EV is an electric vehicle, an electric car. To put it in the easiest terms, EV is electric vehicle. Really it should be EC, electric car, but there you go. So I just wanted to bring out that I don't want to piles of electric car videos onto this channel, so I have started a new channel, and I started with a couple of videos I did well before I even got the car itself, discussing on how you make a decision to spend the amount of money it costs to buy an electric vehicle. So let's just start at somewhere near the beginning. The new channel, Driving an EV in the UK. Please go have a look. Whether you're thinking about getting an electric vehicle, or you have one, or yeah, anything to do with that. So we have, and we decided, technically Christmas gone, not Christmas coming, but Christmas in 2019, at almost the end of 2019, I decided that there's so much stuff on the news saying about we need to move to electric vehicles and things like that, and I'm going, oh yeah, it's fine for many people to be able to afford to get an expensive electric car, and I'm going, yeah, I can't afford to buy an expensive electric car. I don't have that much money. But it was a thought even further back than that, and the reason why I dropped all of the boxes, because not just because of their cost, but because of how much space all of them items, if they're collectibles to keep good, then you take up loads and loads of boxes to keep them clean and tidy. So I was going, let's find something that's more, at least more useful to do with money. So, as many of you, because I've mentioned, I have a caravan, and I was paying the loan on the caravan. Now the caravan loan ended, freeing up that money to be used again. Not only that, but because of how I run finances, I killed off anything else that I owed money on, which meant that at the time I finished paying the caravan, there was nothing going out as loans or any debt anywhere. So I was completely and utterly debt free in that frame. So I'm going, right, to make it easy, if I wanted an EV, how much can I get one for that suits my purpose, and how much can I generate a month to pay a loan for? So in January, when I decided that yes, this is what we were going to do and get an EV, I started that type of process and going, right, can we physically put away that much money? How much money do we need? How much extra is it going to cost, because the car's going to have a higher value, so the insurance is going to be higher? There's a number of questions, you know, and you have to cover each and every one of them. You can't just say, alright, I'm going to buy a house, the mortgage is £500, I can manage the mortgage, because then you forget that you have every single bill belonging to the house to pay as well. And that's where you might go, well, the mortgage is easy, but oh right, oh, I forgot about that. You forget about things which are part of having the house, so therefore there is things which are part of having a car. No matter whether it's electric or petrol, there is things that come together to make up the total cost. So that's was the start point. It was the small videos that make up the whole of this on the channel. So when I physically got the car, it was a lovely chucking down day, and I wanted to do a video of the car arriving and coming off the back of the lorry, and it actually came in the back of a van, so it was totally hidden. And it was horrible, so I couldn't go very far, and I had never driven an EV at all. Because of a certain virus, which shall remain nameless because it's a pain in the butt, I couldn't get any test drive in any electric car, because the car garages said that we would have to totally fumigate the car and clean it after your test drive. If you buy it, then you can test drive it. Wow. Buying a car you don't know if you like is a bit... but even that, you know, I did look at loads of cars. Not because I wanted to pick and get them. I just wanted to see loads of EVs. And during the 6 weeks holidays, when we were allowed to go somewhere for a holiday, we went up to the caravan, and on one day we went to, well, it's Linwood, which is near Paisley, which is near Glasgow, which, if that helps you find where it is, it's a small little place, and it's a place called Phoenix, where it's got a whole load of car showrooms as well as Asda and that type of stuff. And on the day we were going to go somewhere, and then the weather report said it was going to be horrible and it was going to rain. So we're going, well, there's no point doing the drive that we were going to do, because we need good weather for it. So instead we started looking at EVs, and we started off at the Peugeot dealer, and we're seeing the 208, and then we moved and seen the Corsair, and we worked our way around the showrooms. And I'm going, I know what car I want. Really, it has to be an Ioniq, just due to price and size, and that I think that will work for us the best. So we went around and we looked, and by the time we came to almost the last one, there was only me and a small child. And we got to the last one, and at the last one there was a Ioniq, and the man came and he sprayed and cleaned the handles with, and said, "Hey, have a look." And right next door to it was a Leaf, and I asked him, can we see that as well? So we did 2 EVs at the same time, and I said, which do you like the look of the best, and which do you like the space and how it feels the best? And a small little child agreed with me that the Ioniq was a much nicer looking car, much more space than the Leaf was, and the Ioniq could actually travel further than the Leaf anyway. So that leads up to sort of saying, well, yeah, the Ioniq is the one, even though I can't drive it, that's the car. And so when we started looking, the problem became that it wasn't finding cars, because some cars had been up from the start of lockdown and had stayed on these websites, Auto Trader, moto.co.uk. I had about 5, and I listed all of them on my computer in the save position for, and I just went and had a look and priced and seen price versus age versus the mileage they've done, and how does the prices level off to those three things. Now, knowing that the younger the car gets, the higher the insurance premium gets, then I couldn't get a 2020 or a 2019 car on the grounds that they were coming higher for insurance that wouldn't justify the mileage that they would have, and all of them were all too dear anyway. So, but the problem that came was more banks and them lending money, and that was a pain in the arse, because before they had interest rates that I could afford, because I actually put in for a loan for an MGEZ, ZSCV, and I could get a loan and I could get interest rate and pay payment, but I went off the MG due to there was a high number of things being said about rust, and that the range didn't cover and it wasn't efficient enough, and there was lots of beeps at the time, and a number of things that kept and put me off the car itself, especially the rust, because whatever car I get will be a car that I keep for 10, 11, maybe longer. If you take it, my Fabia Estate I had for 10 years, and the only way I got rid of it was that it got rust and required welding, so therefore the garage said it wasn't worth the money being spent to weld it, because the car value wasn't there to do it. So, that was, so, no, that was the Felicia. The Fabia was the one I got after it in 4 years. Yeah, I don't know where I am, do I? No, but I don't make up any script for this. This is as it goes. So if my brain is all over, so is what I say. So, back to the EV. What was the driving force behind the EV? It was what I'm going to talk about in another video, because this one's clocking on. But I bought the electric vehicle because of potential running costs of the vehicle. I accept an electric vehicle is expensive, hands down. But you miss the fact that an electric vehicle is dearer to buy, but it is much, much cheaper to run. Think about it. Think about every component there is in a petrol vehicle. Every component that requires replacement when the car gets older. Not over that the car every year needs a service, so you need to change spark plugs, oil filter, air filter sometimes. Not all the time, but at least a regular thing. Oil. Look at the cost of each of these items. Now, if you don't want to look at completely the cost, look at, you are replacing these items on a yearly basis, and sometimes twice yearly if you do a lot of miles. Now, these items have to be made. So, these items take up resources. These items take up power and energy to make, so they have a carbon footprint. So, not just thinking that this is eco-friendly. We look at building a car, a petrol car, and we look at building an EV. And yes, we look at the carbon footprint, and people say that the carbon footprint for an EV is greater than for a petrol. But add on all the replacement spark plugs and all of this that you need to put onto the petrol over its life, and I bet the carbon footprint switches. So there isn't just that some tiny little shitty part breaks on your petrol car, or doesn't sound right, and you end up taking time off and having to buy a part which is cheap, which then costs more money to have fitted by the garage because of where it's positioned. So you could buy a a £3 part, and it could cost you £40 because the rest of it is the garage fitting it. Over time, that's something you have to consider. But most people don't consider that. Most people are quite happy to buy a car every 3 years and be constantly paying monthly payments for a car, and you don't realise that if you're paying £200 a month as a monthly payment, which is fairly low, but we'll take £200, that's £2,400 a year. If you keep that car for 3 years, then you get rid of it, and then you buy another one that costs £200 a year. Yes, you have a new car, but you've spent £2,400 for 3 years, which is £7,200. Wow, I worked that out. So you've spent £7,200 on top of all the fuel and anything else that you've spent to run that car for the 3 years, and then you change it, and then you go back to the start again. That you are constantly paying loan after loan after loan after loan, monthly payments each and every month without end. Some people do that, and that's not me. Yes, I have a loan for the EV. The loan is fairly long, and I got it on PHP, which means at the end there is a final payment. That final payment I will either need to have the money for, or I need to get another loan. Now, since that final payment is quite small, covering how much I'm currently paying, then I just need a smaller time period and I can complete. There is no point at the end of the time period of giving the car back, because I can't see the car being the value of the final payment, and that even if I pay the final payment and sell the car, I would make more than what the final payment is selling the car. Yeah, but it's weird. So the aim is to have something at the end of it, and the aim is that the car is the car. So the car will be looked after. The car will go the same way as every other car I've got. But most of the cars that I've ever had have been fairly old. Taking it, my Fabia that I just got rid of was 10-year-old when I bought it and 14-year-old when I sold it, but it was still in good running condition. Then we have 10 years of driving that I didn't do in the car, and okay, we have an EV. So the EV will, on all theories, run because of the mileage that I started with, and that it is the lowest mileage I've ever had on a car, and it is the youngest car I've ever had. I actually looked, when the stuff came, I looked at its paperwork, and it's not 2-year-old until the end of November, which is the month I am doing this video on, just in case, that it's not 2-year-old. So therefore, even maintaining it to Fabia's 14-year-old, there is 12 years worth of driving. Will the car do 12 years worth of driving? I don't see the reason why it shouldn't. Even clocking 10,000 miles a year, which I haven't done for a long time, it's normally 8 or 9, then 10 years will give it 127,000 miles on the clock. Can an EV do that? Yes, it can. There is plenty of EVs that have more than that on it. So I have no doubt that even in 12 years' time, the car will still have some range, and although the batteries will have degraded over time, there will still be sufficient in the batteries to justify the range, the driving that I do. And in 12 years' time, the number of charge places will be much greater. So can we charge? Are we happy to do a smaller trip? People have been happy to drive a Leaf that has a 70-mile range and charge 3 or 4 times doing a very long journey. Another video later to explain even that. So my EV is not a short-term item. My EV is a long-term, 12 years, maybe possibly 15 years. to a point where the range becomes unacceptable to do the range, or the car falls to bits. The likelihood, looking at batteries, is that the car will give out before the battery pack gives out. If you are looking at saying it's a Leaf, the battery pack will give out before the car gives out because there's no battery management. Stupid Nissan. So, bored are we? I have ranted for quite a bit. So, thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. And go and have a look at my driving an EV in the UK channel. Bye for now.